Welcome everyone to Beyond the Racks by Dark Side Strength, Strength Through Adaptability. I'm your host Brian Gallagher, bringing the podcast back after a few month break. And we're excited to have two youth coaches here with us today, Preston and Mark Rohrer. Both Preston and Mark have coached basketball in Manitowoc County here for many years. First up, guys, thanks for doing this podcast with me. Let's just start off a little bit about you, who you are, what got you into coaching, where you're from, stuff like that.
Well, Preston said I have to speak first to get us going here, so let me do that. I grew up in Truro, Wisconsin. I went away to college at Madison. I went to law school in Michigan, and I've been practicing law and currently as a judge for 30 years. I'd say about 6-7 years ago, maybe even 8 now, I went to Preston and said, hey, I'd like to coach. He goes, okay. And my nieces were at the time. And so was his daughter, and this is at St. John's School. And all of a sudden he comes up to me after I mentioned it to him. He goes, you're coaching with me. I'm like, oh. And I went to my nieces and I said to them, well, what do you think about your coaching you? No, we wouldn't want that. So I wasn't really a big circle of blocks, but I said, well, I'm coaching you. And then my niece, she said, well, so you're going to be like an assistant, some of those guys that just gives a pep talk, and that's it, right? I'm like, no. We good coaching you. So that's how that started. And since then, I've been blessed to have Preston as a mentor. I mean, he has taught me so much. And he's made me a good coach, a better coach, and I learn from him all the time. And one of the things that I've been blessed also is that as I've grown, and when he sees that growth, he then lets the reins out and gives me some responsibility, which is scary at times.
Yeah.
But he's got a great judgment when it comes to that. He understands it. So the reason why I'm doing it is because of him.
So were you just a fan of basketball? Did you play basketball?
I was a fan of basketball. I can't shoot to save my life. It freaks me out when I'm trying to, say if you touch kids, shoot. That's his role.
Okay.
I can make free throws, I can rebound, I can box out, I can play defense. But when it came to shooting, I couldn't do it to save my life.
Really?
So yeah, he saves our life when it comes to shooting.
So growing up, did you play any sports?
I played intramural basketball when I was in high school. I ran track when I was in high school. I played tennis when I was in high school.
Okay.
And also the nerd part of me, which is still a part. I played chess. I won the state championship our freshman year.
Nice.
Not a contact sport, but again, still a sport.
It is a sport. I used to love chess.
I never played it.
I'm terrible at it.
Yeah.
I used to love it.
So we were pretty good at it. But like I said, I'm blessed to have Preston as my mentor and my friend, obviously.
Good. It's easier coaching with a friend.
Yeah, for sure. I got him on that one. I'll let it go to him now.
Well, I was raised to River. After school, I moved away to band for a year. Figured that wasn't for me.
Yeah.
Went back into the workforce. Started actually coaching soccer with my son when he was going to grade. So that's what pretty much started my coaching career. And then it was baseball. Knew a lot about baseball. Not so much pitching. I always had to go grab another coach that I felt would know more about the pitching aspect of it. That's right. I fell short. And then my daughter, she grew up, wanted to play football. So third grade, Two Rivers didn't have a team. So we went to Michigan. I played for Michigan. Then fourth grade on, she for uncle. With the traveling team for Two Rivers. And then also for Mackinac and St. John's Two Rivers. I think it was the first year I was by myself, or both Mr. Hansen I was with, and then after that, like Mark had said, he approached me about coaching, and I said, well, I know what position you do in the community. It should be pretty easy with a background check, and but I said, we still got to do a background check. I'll bring it to the board. I said, but you're in luck because I'm the vice president of the board. I think we can get you in. Yes. All kidding aside, we had back. We had to do
Right.
And that's where Mark and our journey really started. Great. We had a lot of, they always say that the coaches don't need to coach as much with gifted athletes. Dog and his nieces, they were very, very gifted.
Yeah.
You will probably hear of them coming up in the future here with their basketball careers because they're very talented at basketball.
One of them's here right now.
Yeah, one of them's here right now working out, but
That was one I made a comment about I'd be just a pep guy.
right. Yeah. But then we went from the like Mark said, I kind of just, he kind of just like that first year, he just, I don't want to say sat in the background, but he watched, he learned, and then from there I noticed that, okay, he's more just an assistant. He's going to be a co-head coach. Yeah, we have our disagreements on things like that. That's any coaching, but we work through them like adults, and we don't ponder and get upset about things. We, okay, hey, after practice we'll sit down. Hey, maybe we should do this next time. Maybe we should do that. It didn't really work out the way we planned it. Like that. So,
Yeah.
we had a great, what was it, 4 or 5 seasons with those guys at John. I don't know the exact actor. I just know it was one loss, and it was actually our last game of their 8th grade career. We lost in the championship.
Lost in 5 seasons.
Yes.
That was good.
So from there, and the girls were so upset, and as coaches we were upset, but I looked at it and be like, the girls have never lost. This is actually not the worst thing for these girls to learn how to accept a loss, and how you handle yourself after. I still look back at the game. I have it on film, and I looked at it, and I can't speak for Mark. I can speak for myself that I think me as a coach relied, instead of coaching more, I decided to rely on our athletes more. And I look at that, and that was probably, I think, one of my biggest mistakes as a coach. But in the long term, it's been a great thing because I learned from that and I move on. Then after that, we take a little break, Mark. I think
We took a year off.
Yeah, no, we didn't.
No,
we
we
actually went right back into it. Rivers hired a new head coach. He had asked me to be head coach. I asked Mark if Mark could come along, and we were coaching the JV head coach and assistant coach, or however you want to word it.
Girls.
Yep,
Okay.
at the Rivers. Yep, and we were above 500 there for a while, and then obviously, in the right to help girls that are best for the varsity team. So lost a key freshman to our team, and then we had to regroup, restructure, and then I think we ended up back over 5.
Yeah.
Considering these girls had only won so many games throughout their travel career at their high school. But then again, at that level, it's not about winning and losses. It's about fundamentals and getting prepared to play JV and the varsity game at the high school.
Right.
Yeah.
That's something too that's different. I mean, something that's different, that we're learning now and have learned as time has gone forward, is we're preparing them to be varsity basketball players.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, it's not about you win by 20, you win by 30, and play 5 kids. Teams like to play a limited roster.
Yeah.
We play as many kids as we can for significant periods of time, and it's to get them that experience, to get them to gel as a team, right? Because right now you got to get them to gel as a team, and if you can't get them to gel as a team, they're not going anywhere.
Yep.
And so that's I think a critical aspect to youth basketball going forward and making it more successful than at the varsity level. This game's going to need a team aspect.
Yeah.
And another thing I forgot to mention is how much Mark has meant to me. He talks about how I've taught him to become a better basketball coach. It's honestly, maybe the first year that held true, but then after that, I look up to Mark a lot. He's helped me outside of basketball. He helps me. I'm a recovering alcoholic. A lot of people that watch this probably will know that. But I've been going almost 16 years strong with it. And my wife.
That's gonna be something.
Yeah, my wife and my family are my number one supporters. But Mark's right behind them.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I think everybody here would know. Sometimes it's easier to talk to a really close friend, instead of, not that I wouldn't talk to my wife, I do.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's nice to talk to her. But then, hey, me and Mark are gonna go get a burger, and then we talk.
Yeah.
We talk about, Mark has had struggles in his life. I've had struggles in my life, and I like that they just put basketball aside. And sometimes even talk about it can bring me to tears. But I appreciate him so much. I don't think he realizes how important he is in my life, not just basketball,
Yeah.
So,
Sometimes it's easier to.
yeah.
It's a different connection with a friend than it is a spouse.
Right, exactly.
But you need those two different types of connections in your
But
life.
like I said, my family's the number one supporter. You know, they like, you know, they let me know, like, hey, Dad, you're doing good. You know, just because other people drink and do their things doesn't mean that I need to go there. I can still socialize with people.
Yeah.
I can accept it, and I move on.
That's
It's just the support to stay strong and then keep moving. And then
It's the thing to do, and I'm just going to say Manitowoc County because that's where we live, but drinking is so ingrained in the culture here.
oh yes,
So like my dad is from Hawaii, and I think growing up I saw him have like 3 F's, and he was just mesmerized by how much fun would drink. He never understood that. My mom too, she's from La Crosse, but grew up in Manitowoc, so I was a kid, but they never drink, and then you see people drinking all the time. It's like, why? There's other things to do.
right, yeah,
Like I like it. Everyone does it to a point, but it can't be part of your identity of who you are as just a drink.
right, exactly.
I'll never understand
You know, I look back at it. Hey, why couldn't they have done this 10 years earlier?
Yeah.
With the support of my kids and my wife, my mom. I mean, I owe her. Jean. I mean, she's been there for me.
Yeah.
She might not think she has. She might not think that I appreciate her as I do, but I do, because if it wasn't for my immediate family and Coach Mark here, I don't know. You know, what path would have been down. I don't want to even look at it.
Yeah.
I love the path I chose. So.
Yeah.
And I'm working on mentally and to go and actually start talking to 7th and 8th grade kids at schools about alcoholism and stuff, and how the path is, because you hit it right on the head, Brian, that our society around here, that's what it is. I'm not saying that it's wrong.
No, I mean, you could do it and be responsible.
Right.
But
yeah.
so many
But for me, it's wrong.
Yeah.
It's wrong.
Correct.
Because I know how I am and how I treat people when I'm doing that.
Yeah.
So, but thank you.
Yeah. So it brings me to my first question. I mean, that was great.
A little long enough.
You might have covered this, but what do you currently coach, and what are the biggest obstacles you see from coaching, from a coaching outlook in terms of scheduling, and game management when it comes to fatigue on athletes?
Well, I mean, again, it depends what you're coaching, right? When you're coaching high school level versus grade school level, and then there's different challenges, right? Obviously, the younger a child is, the less attention spans are.
Yes.
All right. So you have to take that into account, and you got to be paid something because we're human beings. It's not an excuse, but you got to be aware of it.
Yeah.
You know, when we're coaching sometimes 3rd or 5th graders, okay, you got a half hour at a crack, maybe, right? I mean, 45 minutes and so on and so on. You got to have fun into the practices. You got to have it, and you know, we forget about that sometimes. And just recently, you know, me, myself, and Preston's all over, right? He picks it up, and our kids needed a little bit of fun in a practice. It's like, okay, well, we came up with something. Okay, whoever made the most free throws, they chose, you know, what they're going to do for 5 minutes. They choose whatever that activity is, and it's 4 on 4. Well, I tell you what, they had a lot of giddy up in their step this week because of just that little thing.
Yeah.
So you have to be aware of that. You have to also be aware of you've got all different kids, all backgrounds. Someone may be coming from a single family parent.
Yeah.
Some may be coming from an intact family. Some may have parents that may have some legal troubles, or maybe they're in the midst of some family troubles, or whatever it is, or maybe they've got siblings. And you got to be aware of these things.
Yeah.
When you're coaching kids. If you're not, you know, then you're not doing your job. You got to learn your kids, and that's we have another thing too. I'm kind of going off filter a little bit. We have these activities, these team activities. You get to learn your kids. You get to find out about kids, and that's very helpful when you're coaching. In terms of fatigue, I think one of the problems that exists right now, I think in sports, and it's a decline, and it's not like unique to us. Right, this is across, I think, the country. It's a decline in children participating in sports activities, and I think in part it's because so many options out there of what kids can do.
Yeah.
And all that type of stuff. Social things are a lot different. That impacts it. And I think sometimes when people get into the sports, I think that what turns kids off is sometimes and you make it work. In other words, sometimes if you're practicing 5 days a week for 3 months straight,
Yeah.
okay, and then you're going to do basketball games on a Saturday.
Yeah.
There's fatigue, and I think that coaches, it's all well and good. You want to get some maximum amount of hours you might get out of your kids, but if you don't look at the fatigue aspect of it, not only the physical fatigue, right, because they're going to wear down.
Yeah.
There's a mental that exists, and that's another thing too that we preach in our team. Another challenge, right, is that getting the kids to understand 90%. They say it's like this: 90% of this game is between your ears.
Yeah.
I can give you greatest athletes in the world. I'll use Kentucky as an example in basketball. Undefeated going against Wisconsin in the Final Four. Wisconsin cleaned their clocks. They had a lot of 3 or 4 year players played as a team.
Yeah.
They beat the best athletes in the country, and that's again because of the mental aspect of the game.
Yeah.
You can't ignore it. So that's what I see as challenges and what to be aware of. I think it's awareness rather than a challenge.
Do you think, so these kids came from before basketball season was football season, a lot of them did play football.
Right.
Do you think, and I coached this group in football, do you think because you mentioned the stacking of 5-day practices, right?
Right.
We did that in football, and then they go right into basketball, so it's the same. You get a thing stacking sports next to each other could be an issue of the fatigue.
I think as part of it, you could have maybe a 2-week break, I think. Again, I think, maybe 5-day practices are great in the beginning of the season, but I think that if you're doing that the entire season, it's just a person thing. And I'm not an expert. I'm some guy with 6 or 7 years experience. I just sense the mental fatigue on children.
Yeah.
Okay, or young adults. Of course, that's the high school, but I mean, it's a mental fatigue. I mean, they're butt tail month to month, well, academically, and then you're saying, okay, let's go practice for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Every single day. And oh, by the way, when you get home, if you eat now, we're having to do your homework. And again, then the coaches too sometimes miss that fatigue, right?
Yeah.
I've seen that 5-day practice because they're wearing down.
Yeah.
And again, something that I've become aware of, I think, in the last month or so, personally. And I think that maybe it doesn't hurt to back off a bit.
Yeah.
Because I think we saw our kids with that Christmas break.
Yeah, for sure.
And when they came back, they were fresh.
Yeah.
They played better basketball. We had one practice, and they played probably the best basketball game of the year last Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay? With one practice. And again, I just got to be aware of the mental fatigue. That's my 2 cents.
We did something similar to that in volleyball. We would do beginning of the season, you got to practice because we have to get all these plays in. We have 4.5-ish weeks to do that. So we practice 5 days a week. And once you hit your first game, you have games on Tuesday, you have a walkthrough on Monday. We stop practice. We have no practice on Wednesdays around here is usually religion night. So the kids would go to religion and no practice Wednesdays. And then Fridays, we would just do a 45-minute walkthrough and then no pads. And the kids would go watch the varsity game. But at least they're getting legal. We're not hammering their bodies over and over and over. They can sit there for 20 minutes, do a walkthrough, and go home.
Right?
Some people have to realize, this is my opinion, and that kids can have a bad day too. We have bad days as adults, but kids can have a bad days and then talk about those bad days because they just expect school, practice, homework, dinner, chores, bed, and it's live for the weekend. They should. I don't like that saying of living for the weekend. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That's okay.
Just adding my 2 cents.
Yes. No, I'm coaching basketball with Mark now. I agree. Mark being on practice in the beginning. I think it's important to those 5 days a week. But you can also see the fatigue when they come right from football to practice. I think the first 2-3 weeks is probably the toughest on these kids. But then I think they start to adjust, and then we start to adjust our practice on how we do things.
Yeah.
We like Mark had mentioned, doing fun things with the kids just to keep them engaged, or kind of like what you mentioned, just going to do a 20-minute walkthrough of our offensive plays, our inbound plays, our press break, our press, things like that. And there's sometimes that we just kind of let them go off and play their games as long as they're going to be respectful to each other, because when you let the kids kind of choose, it kind of can get like, maybe we should have done this type of thing. Kids are learning we are, and they understand, and it's getting a lot better. I don't know who coached these kids that we coached for before. It doesn't matter. They did what they could with these kids, and we noticed what they needed to work on, and that's what we focused on as coaching for. We try to, not so much since Christmas, but we try to go out at least once a week. If it's me going to his house, him coming to mine, or we go to, say, the Waverly in town here. We go there, we'll sandwich or whatever, and we talk. If we can't, it's constant text messages. Hey, how can we fix this? How can we do this better? It's not always about the sport. It's about, like Mark said, you don't know what kind of home they're living in. We don't know any of that. They're what they're struggling with. I think you kind of hit it on the head too. They're struggling just like you and I are throughout the day. And like you said, then they're going to school. Then they're going out for 2 hours of sport. Then they got to go home, do their homework. Then they got to eat, and then going. And I hate that saying living for the weekend too. But it's reality, I guess. It's just the way it is. I support all kids playing multiple sports. On trying something different, even if they succeed or not succeed. I can tell you hands down, Mark doesn't really deal with the parents as much as I do. But this group of parents that we're coaching now, I can tell you, and I'm not just saying this because I'm doing a podcast and they might listen to this, but I can tell you they're a great group of parents and they care. And I love seeing, you would know because you coach their kids. Yeah. I honestly, not saying at St. John's or up at the high school, it's just different this time, and I can feel it. It's just like, I don't know.
I think one of the things that we do, and again, this is learning, right? Is that we gather the parents in the very beginning and saying, okay, this is what we're about. Any questions? I think having that upfront knowledge about what you're about, how you're going to act, what you've been, helps parents, because at that time then too, we feel it's like anything with that, any problems with that, what about. Yeah. And I think that has helped us, right? Yeah. Because we got rid of that way. I think we got rid of the kids. We learned that from our JV days was, again, it's just a different lot. You look at things. There's no right or wrong answer to everything, but we believe in a team philosophy. So our kids, we taught them they're going to be together all the time. We don't care what you do outside of it, but just as an example, our kids at JV level, when we had a team dinner, our JV team sat at the same table. Yeah. No questions asked. You have to handle that after a while. Even the kids that may not get along well outside of the school all sat down together and conversed and sat down as a team. Yeah, that's key. And since we had that lesson that we learned, we brought that up forward on this team. All right, where it's like, just FYI, no one's better than the other one. You may have skills, but you know what? You need this person in order to succeed. Whoever that name is, maybe they're 5 minutes. Yeah. Maybe they're going to get 2 rebounds. Maybe they're going to get a great pass. Maybe they're not going to make 1 shot. Yeah. But without that person, you're not going to make go of this. You better understand it as a group and rely on each other. And even in practice now, because again, that philosophy, you're saying an example of like, okay, how do you know how it works? Well, some kids didn't trust some of our weaker players a little bit, which is understandable. I mean, you're a child. I mean, right? And you got to learn that trust and that develop that. So we have now kids that are passing everybody more so. Yeah. So we're seeing that. And we're seeing it not only in practice, we're now seeing it in games. And I'm telling you, it may not work out pretty all the time, but by doing that, they're showing trust in that player that might not be as strong. And on it, the dynamics are phenomenal. And back the stronger player with the weaker player, it really does bring a lot to the table. That's my thoughts on that.
Yeah. No, I second that. And just watching these kids from where they started and where they now and how they treat each other, it shows me that we coach them the game, but we also coach them in life and how to be respectful, and not that they weren't before. Don't take that the wrong way, but you can see the differences. You have this kid that thought he had to constantly drive and shoot. Now he's stopping. He's recognizing the defense. He's throwing it to the open person. He's finding himself on assists. Yeah. When it used to be, from what I've been told, that it's always been, I gotta score. Yeah. Now let's open up. I don't like Mark saying in Mark, I don't any of these kids that were coaching, and it's a boys team. Mark and I came from coaching girls.
Yeah.
So I mean that was a lesson in its own. You know, I had a little experience with coaching my son, but it's a night and day difference from the start of the season to this part of the season, and the help these kids do for each other is amazing. It's just hands down, in the support that these parents give. I cannot. You said that is so important to be part of your child's life. I'm not saying that the coach that where I've coached before that didn't happen. I see it a lot more with this group of boys.
Yeah, I feel like having coached the same group in a different sport, this group of parents gives you the freedom to go coach the way you want to coach. They're not trying to step on toes or coach from the stands, or you know what I mean.
Right. And you still get some. I mean, I'm a parent too. I go watch something.
Yeah.
You know, I can go watch your kid, and I don't really know. You can invite me, and I'll be like, "Hey, go do it." You know, I just get into it. You know.
But if you're gonna pull, let's say you pull Joe Schmo out of the game, sit him on the bench, you talk to him. You're not gonna have a parent come screaming. At least I don't get that from this.
Right. No, not at all. No.
Sometimes you do that, and that can make coaching even harder.
Right. Yeah. And you know, like the little what do you call them, Mark? I'm having a brain fart here when we get together, and team building. Sorry, I apologize. Yeah, team building. Nothing but great. We had the first one at the community house. We rented the gym for them to play basketball, just to have fun, not like coaching them, just to have fun. We did a pancake dinner down below at the community house. You know, you were there, Brian.
I was there.
Yeah,
set up some tables.
Yeah, set up tables. Then another like right before Christmas, we had a get together dinner in Mark's house. Thank you, Mark and Kelly, for allowing us in your house. But it was a great time. I mean, it was just neat seeing these kids that I think in my mind that they don't talk too much in school. But look at them bond. Look at them, and they have differences, and they're coming together, and they're doing these things. They're playing a game on their phone. They're playing shuffleboard. They're doing whatever downstairs.
I was talking about my wife asked them to talk about being what they're grateful for, and some of the words that came out of some of our kids' mouths. Not getting into specifics. You know, you learn, again, these team bonding things, you learn about the depth of these children as a person, right? They'll say something, and I'm like, I didn't expect to come out of that mouth. And it's that's what I'm saying, that's part of it. And then the other kids, too, are respectful of those thoughts.
Yeah.
So that's that thing that I love.
Just a lot of support all around with this team. Coaches, his players, parents, my wife, you know, thank you, Shelly, because you give me his freedom to go and do this, and I'm sure Mark can say the same thing for Kelly.
Yeah.
You know, one of the biggest moments for our team building was Mark and I were in the kitchen. Well, Mark did mainly the cooking. I can take maybe 8% of the credit, but anyway, 8%. We'll go with 8, right? Maybe 7. Yeah, 7. We'll go with 7. But anyway, I'm sitting there, you know, like Mark knows I do, just running my mouth, talking, blah blah blah. But all of a sudden, his wife Kelly came in the kitchen. She's like, "You guys got to go see this. Those boys." And I'm not even kidding. We did not put them up to it. We didn't do anything. They were all standing up around this, holding their hands, telling everybody. They started with one player, and they were thankful for it.
Oh, wow.
It was something that really touched my heart. I don't know if it was because of our coaching stuff. Maybe, I don't know. I don't want to take credit for it.
I had something, but again, they still did it.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was just unbelievable. It was really cool. I don't know how to explain it. Yeah.
If I had never seen that group doing that.
Yeah. But they were just saying how thankful for the, some were thankful for the sport of basketball. Some were thankful they have new coaches.
Yeah.
Some were thankful to just be by Mark's house to have dinner.
Yeah.
It was just amazing. It was nothing like there was no selfishness in it at all.
Yeah.
They were just darn right thankful. And hey, awesome.
Wow.
Oh, that awesome.
Yeah, I think I never see that group doing that.
Right, yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah.
What is your joy of coaching youth athletes, middle school athletes, over high school? And what's your biggest frustration of coaching youth over high school?
I think that the answer would be the same with high school level, grade school level, middle school level, is when you see a team buy in. to your philosophy, a team buy-in to your offensive set, a team that buys into your defense. And maybe they're doing it on an individual basis, or maybe you're just seeing them gel, right? Those are the things that work.
Yeah.
And it takes a while. I mean, you have kids that have been doing something, for 6 years, right? And now all of a sudden it's like we got these old guys that are trying to throw in something a little new.
Yeah.
But again, with the proper philosophies, we're training them to be high school athletes, right? So we're doing the offense pretty much being run at the school. The press is being run at the school. The defense being run at the school.
Yeah.
And when you see them starting to buy into it or believe it into it, or have a moment where they actually execute in such a fashion, that's it.
Yeah.
Frustrations, we're humans. We get frustrated if they maybe make the same darn ass that you told them about 100 times. I'm a bald fellow and Preston don't have a lot of hair. You know a lot of hair. Well, if we could pull up chunks, we would.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it may be a repetitive mistake, but again, you have to internalize it. And I forget all the time. I can talk smart right now, right? Because I'm not watching them play in front of me and expecting, crazy expectations, perfection, and whatnot. And we'll do something. You're like, okay, as a coach, you need to back off a little bit at this level.
Yep.
They're going to make the same mistakes potentially, and you got to learn, like, okay, what am I doing that I need to correct to get them maybe to connect better on not doing that.
Exactly.
Another way, taking shit for it. Most coaches, including myself, it's the kid's fault, right? It's a combination of things. It's the kid and the coach, and that connection. Again, they're not to be perfect. I love Bo Ryan. Thought he could do that. I love Bo Ryan. But anytime there's a mistake, that was nonsense. It was that crazy. We're not that crazy. We're not close to the best player, John Kaminsky, right? Decker. Okay, all these guys were All-American type players, and they make a mistake, and then the next out-of-bounds play, or Horn or whatever, Horn would go off. And he knew damn well. They were coming out.
Yep.
Okay, we're not that way. And that's where you try to get at about that philosophy of it's the too. It's not the player's fault only.
I had a coach very similar to Bo Ryan. You messed up, so you were coming home. Randy Frederickson. Oh man, you had to have some fixing it to be coached by Randy Frederickson. But you learned very quickly.
Yeah, I never had him as coach from the principal.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Randy, it's Preston. Remember me?
He lives in Florida now.
Oh, he lives in Florida. Maybe he'll listen to this. No, he was a great guy. Maybe I didn't think so back then, but he was a great guy.
If you wanted to be competitive in basketball games, Randy was the guy, but you had to have some thick skin to be coached by Randy Frederickson.
Right.
In my opinion.
No, I think what Mark said on that question was right on the head. So I think I really need to repeat everything that he said. But that's exactly how I feel. But
You're about to fail in it.
and like it's not just ways. It's not the kids. It's a team, and we're coach. I know everything. When you see team, you look at the players. You gotta look at the coaches. You gotta look at the parents. They're part of the team.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but they are.
Who's driving the bus?
Yeah,
Who's supporting the bus?
Right, exactly. If it wasn't for them, guess what? Me and Mark would be having coffee every morning and really not talking basketball.
Reading the newspaper.
Yeah, reading the newspaper, see what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
But yeah.
How do you keep athletes academically eligible? Because that can be an issue for many, specifically middle school programs.
So what we do as a group is I think it's at least 2 to 3 times a week we ask each kid how they're doing academically, disciplinary wise, and things like that. We actually work with these kids. I don't want to get into too much detail about it, but we work with these kids to help them academically wise and be able to play the sport. We did have a young man that was suspended for 3 games or something like that. But we worked with him, and it's been a night and day difference since then.
That's good.
I'm not going to sit here and say that the schools should do something different or anything like that. There should be a consequence for bad behavior, and there should be a consequence for good behavior.
I agree.
I see a lot of consequences, and I could be wrong, so I don't see all the ins and outs. I'm not there 24/7. But I always see a lot of consequences, not just in this school, everywhere. Just everywhere, not Two Rivers, not Michigan, wherever. It's just everywhere. that there's always consequences for the bad behavior. And us, Coach Mark, has said from day one that if the bad behavior continues, obviously there will be a punishment for it. But if there's the movement of going forward, we're definitely going to reward these kids or this kid or that kid or whatever it may be at that time. I think it's very important that the kids know, besides from their parents, and like we said before, we touched on it, we don't know where these kids come from, if they have a broken family. We don't know. Some we do because we hear about it or they tell us. Yeah, or you know them, you get to know them. But that's their point, you know.
Yeah.
You know, but we can do a very, very small part of it to help engage these kids to be better. Know that there's besides sports, you know, get my 5.0 or my 4.0. There is something ahead of me.
Yeah.
You know, there is something that I can accomplish. And it's not the matter of, are you going to go get your doctorate or go this, get your master's? You might want to go get a certificate, be a plumber. You might want to go into the trades.
Yeah.
And we're going to support that.
To do something.
Do something, you know. If it's we need people everywhere, and that's what people nowadays don't really understand. We need the people milking cows. We need the people working at McDonald's.
Now more than ever.
Right, exactly. And there should be no shame in the path you choose.
Yeah.
You know, as long as you do it full-heartedly, and this is what we want to do, be a respectful adult when you get to that point.
Yeah. I had with Randy again. Sports kind of like the easy part for me, and I hated high school. But bring me once. We thought he wouldn't do my work with me. He would tell me what I needed to work on, because I was a C student, and most of that because I didn't try. And he made sure that I tried to at least stay eligible. I was always eligible, but without Randy there, I probably just wouldn't have cared. I mean, I didn't start caring school was in my mid-20s.
Right.
So
I don't know about this year as much, and maybe it hasn't, correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, but in the past, we've always helped kids with their homework if we needed it. We didn't do it for them.
Right.
We helped them, and I'm not going to sit here. I'm going to take about 10% of that credit, and Mark's going to take about 90% of it.
Yeah.
I've seen him helping with algebra. I've seen him helping with history, stuff that. I mean, I've personally seen him do it.
Yeah.
You know, making them, okay, now I'm going to extend it to you. Now you do it. Just like basketball sport thing.
Yeah.
You know, so my coaching style is to coach the game, have fun, and also be realistic with life. Right. Know that there's more out there than just sport.
Oh, absolutely.
And again, academics are important. We can try our best. But again, it's just knowing your kids. Some kids aren't ready yet.
Yeah.
It's a trust, though. We talk about buying into the program, buying into our beliefs.
Yeah.
And it takes time. And we have to be aware of that. Again, it's awareness.
Yeah.
And again, I love my wife to death. This is something that she's helped me grow. You talk about what your wife has done. My wife has taught me about awareness of people.
Yeah.
And being aware of them and everything that's going on instead of just self-centeredness of self. Right?
Yeah.
We kind of get into that sometimes. And having awareness is very, very helpful. Seeing it. Maybe a kid is struggling. You gotta be aware that if a kid is struggling, well, it's not just because we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And or if you become aware of what it is, then you gotta, again, we're not making widgets.
Yeah.
All right. You can't say, okay, you put this in the machine where you get out a shiny quarter. It's the same appearance every single time.
Yeah.
You're dealing with different raw materials, and with those raw materials, you're going to get different products.
Yeah.
And that's what we're dealing with human beings. Okay, that's a lot more precious.
Yeah.
But just as an analogy, but you need to have awareness. And I've got to get better at it. Learning.
Yeah.
But again, these are things, again, there's a social aspect to this. It's not just wins and losses. It's a social aspect of human beings.
Yeah.
And that gets overlooked sometimes, kind of competition.
100%.
It is the social aspect of it, and you've got to be aware of it. And again, this is something that Preston and I grow about, right? We're just talking about this maybe, openly here on this podcast, but again, I think without saying it, we've been doing it.
Yeah.
But sometimes saying it, I think really helps us even grow.
Yeah.
Like we are here tonight, or I should say this morning, and trying to grow and learn, and that's what we're about.
Yeah.
We've often done that, and we love each other. Again, as you said, we don't agree, but again, we listen to each other.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to do with our kids, and our kids need to do with that with us. It's a two-way street.
Yeah.
It's learning the art of listening. Well, I do that all day. On the bench, I'm listening all day, and I think that's helpful.
I think you mentioned one of you, I think it was Preston mentioned there's no reward for doing something good in school. Like you said something along those lines for academics wise, right? You always get punished, but you don't see a reward in the big aspect. And that astounds me because when I was in the Marine Corps, you did something good, there was a reward. You got 6 more hours off of work, or in boot camp you got to go eat from a different food line or something along those lines. But you never saw that. When I was in school, probably you guys were in school, for being academically eligible. Besides just playing the game, that shouldn't be your reward. There should be something else. Or a kid that was struggling, that is now not struggling. There should be something like an acknowledgement. Some type of, not just from the coaches, but from the school systems.
Right. Yeah. I say Lord, get them a brand new basketball or something like that. I'm talking like what you just said, recognize it.
Yeah, I think that was in.
Right, but just bring them in and say, hey, so you were going down a wrong path, and now, hey, we're noticing it. Keep up the good.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying it's not happening. I don't know, because I'm not, like I said before, I'm not in there all the time. But it just seems like I think more of the reward part of it, and not just for the disciplinary part.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
And I was part of a drug report, and now I'm not, because I turned that responsibility over. But one of the things we learn in our training with people that are going through struggles, okay, yes, there's a need for consequences in society. I'm not opposed to that. But if all that's out there, the word consequence for negative behavior, and not positive reinforcement, you're just kissing a dog.
Yeah.
And then I'm not a big fan. We never kick a dog. Okay, I'm just using it figuratively rather than literally. And you just can't keep kicking the dog.
Yeah.
You got to train the dog. If you don't want a dog to do something, again, they're not saying you're human beings. It's just purely analogies. If you want something to correct something, you got to do it with positive behaviors, positive. Because without the positive reinforcement, you're not going to change.
Yeah. You can't just keep hammering these people.
Yelling, green kid on basketball. It's necessary sometimes, but that's the only way you're going to roll as a coach. Personally, and having different philosophies. I think yelling and screaming and trying to get change is never going to happen.
No.
Period. And I think we believe in that. And then sometimes we'll talk to each other, like, hey, Mark, you back off a little bit. You're a little hard.
And we get caught up in it.
And we'll have that conversation. But it's very succinct. It's very quietly done without the kids knowing it.
Yeah.
We may even just give a look at each other at one point and maybe like, whoa. And again, positive reinforcement is necessary. Again, if you overlook that aspect, I'm not saying pass. I'm just talking life in general.
Yeah.
If you don't have the positive reinforcement, and it's just like, okay, your job in society is to do your job well and do it perfectly and do the best you can. And if you don't, there can be consequences. Then you're
yeah. But what if I do? What if I do it?
Correct.
And that's a big belief as Preston said, positive reinforcement is critical.
Yeah, definitely positive reinforcement. You see it, I see it all the time going to games, and I don't think I've ever seen a coach stop yelling at certain games. It's like, maybe there's a better way to communicate with. I get it that you sometimes you gotta get it out there.
There's a time and place for all of it.
Right. Yeah, but when it's constant, it's just like, you might only win one game a year.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It just might be that way. I don't know. Maybe you got to look at yourself as a coach and say, hey, what can I do different? How can I approach these kids differently so they buy in?
Yeah.
When you're constantly in their face, yelling, scolding them, but then never going back to what you scolded them for, show them the right way to do it, the right way to pick the layup up, the right way to rebound, the right way to see the court.
Yeah.
I mean, these kids got to know that. They got to know why they're being taken out or anything like that.
The layup is a perfect example. I mean, we've had some kids where they don't do it, but they'll just head down, but keep your head up. And okay, so they know that, but when they do it correctly, we're all over that.
Yeah.
They'll say, it went in, didn't it? You know, the kind of smiles they run by, or a 3-step process and a free throw.
Yeah.
You know, the kid makes 2 or 3, you just get a look at him, nod your head, and say, way to go. And again, right, then you need that positive reinforcement. You can't say, well, why didn't you do the 3-step process? Or why do you keep putting your head down? That's all you do. And then that's all they hear. Well, then it's kind of like, you just tune out, right? I mean, that's human nature. You're just going to tune out after a while.
Yeah.
You lose touch. So again, there's a time, right, for it. The raising your voice. But again, if that's all you're doing, I don't think you can be successful. I just
Yeah.
And I think with all this, you know, I think we touched on it hopefully a little bit ago. I am very, and Mark's the same way, I can say that. I am very, very strict on everybody knowing their role. I think it's very important that they know their role. Maybe in a younger groups, maybe it's not as important, maybe. But, you know, I think it is. With Mark and I, we have to know our role. It's not just for the kids. We have to know our role. I know my role today. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to sub the kids today. Mark's going to call out the plays. Mark's going to do this.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm going to know my role. It's not Mark gets to be the big dog up there, you know, calling everything. No,
Right.
That's not what it is. And vice versa. If I'm doing it, it doesn't matter. Okay? As long as we know that the defense that they're going to see today, Plymouth, it's going to be different because Plymouth handed it to us.
Yeah.
Okay? And we're going to do our best. And the defense that they see, and I know when Mark calls it that him and I both did it. It wasn't just Mark. It wasn't just Preston.
Absolutely.
You know, but we know our roles. You can call me head coach, you can call me whatever you want. To me, it's just, you know, we share the same role, Mark and I, and we share the same responsibilities. So it doesn't matter what Mark is doing during this game or what I'm doing during this game, as long as we're working together to show kids the proper right. And the kids they're starting to buy it. I don't think we might got a couple of eyes rolled at us once in a while, but we try to switch up the starting. Well, you've been in the games. We try to switch up the starting line.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we try to put kids where we know that they're going to succeed. We have kids on here. From what I heard, again, I had no interest. I shouldn't say I don't know what the word is, but I have no one on the team. I don't have a daughter or a son on the team. I didn't know anybody coming into this. So to see these young men accept their roles from 2 complete strangers is awesome. You know, you get you're going to start today, you're going to start, blah, 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 and then, okay, you're going to come off the bench. So I want to see what kind of oomph you can bring these guys when you come off the bench. Spark, what can you bring? You know, I think we got maybe a couple roll your eyes type of thing, but I think now they're just like, yep, no, coach, I'll sit out, I'll go off the bench. You know, now they're raising their hand and they're splitting it because they're understanding what we're doing. Yeah. You know, it's important at this level. Now when you get up to a varsity level, you know, then it's going to be, you know, your best 5 are on the court. You know, it's a little different. But as coaches at this young level, even at the JV level when we're doing it, why not get these kids ready for that varsity level? All kids, just for 2, get them all. And then that's their choice when they get out there. Are they still going to play or are they not going to play? Yeah. That type of thing. So, yeah.
You touched on it. If you need to tell a coach to back off at a chat and whatnot, you could give a look, you said. And I think that's key because one thing I've always done in my coaching, and specifically with Kyle Cornway, who's a teacher, the director of teaching, is you never yell at another coach in front of the kids. If I disagree with something Preston's doing, I'm going to say it away from the kids on my own time, and we can talk about it together that way. But I'm not one that you guys are the same way because I've never seen it yelling at your coach. There's no reason for that.
No, and again, you have to have faith and trust the other individual that you're with. And again, when he still says go ahead, coaches, it still makes me freak out. And, it does. I saw your questions today. It's like, okay, what do you want to do? What's your ultimate goal, right?
Yeah.
And my ultimate impression is also see it be cold varsity coach, that's not right. Coaches, a coach and a coach team. That's our goal.
Yeah.
And we're not going to step on those to do it, but we're going to learn and we're going to grow, and that's our goal.
Yeah.
You know, and never thought I would say that. You know, me myself, I know that's why I got Preston for some time, but it is a goal that we have. We want to do that.
Yeah.
And but we're not going to dive into it without the knowledge, the skills, and what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Mark hit it on the head. It's been one of my goals, but it's only been one of my goals since I came here.
Yeah.
Because I think we work so good. We could become a varsity coach tomorrow, and I think we'd be pretty darn good at it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just being honest, I'm not trying to be arrogant or anything like that. Maybe I am, but I think that we have so much to offer as a team, the coaching team here, that I think we would get all the wins right away. It would be a struggle probably, depending where we would ever go. But I'm just saying, it might be a little struggle, but we'd work at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we take on one of the worst teams. That would be a pride, for us. Hey, they're looking for new coaches. Let's go there. They only won one game last year, 2 games, or win a game.
Yeah.
I'm not going to look at that as we're going to look at it as a challenge.
Yeah.
And we're going to go in there, and maybe we would fail. That could happen. Yeah. But we don't know. But
you don't know if you're going to try.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, to answer, that is our goal. But my goal is to only do it with him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Granted, if he needed a year or something, and there was an opportunity to get in, I would use him very part-time or something like that. That's something that we would talk about, and we have that communication. I think we talk about it off and on. I don't think we stress about it.
No.
Because the opportunity when it comes.
I think right now we're struggling. Right now is what we struggle with is we both have careers, right?
Yeah.
And again, it's a personal opinion. You're going to right. Okay, there is a time commitment. And even at the JV level last year, I mean, loved the JV coach. He had a great amount of knowledge, right?
Correct.
And
Mike Schultz?
Mike Schultz.
He's been coaching since long.
Yeah, right. So he remarkable. Everything's in his head, and really high commitment, 5 days a week. That's just practices. We haven't talked about the film yet. We haven't talked about all that stuff. If you're gonna do it right, it's a darn near full-time job, in my opinion, to do it right. And that's where I don't want to sell kids short.
Correct.
Right now at this level with Preston's blessing and guidance, we can make this work. This is Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday.
Yeah.
And that's enough. And on Fridays we got a little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're balancing all these things. Again, the question, I'm looking ahead a little bit, diving ahead, but I mean, you got your career, okay, which sucks up a lot of time.
Yeah.
You've got your family, and you're saying to your spouse, right? Or you're saying to your kids, you're saying, well, honey, I hardly see it all during the week because I'm doing this career thing. Now, do you mind if I take away a little bit more time from us?
Yeah.
It takes a remarkable spouse. We have that.
Yeah.
I've got a remarkable woman who's willing to work with that because of the passion, joy that she sees when I'm doing this. Okay? And there's sometimes where she sees me dragging butt. She goes, "Hey, are you going too far? You need to back off." And rightfully so, right? Because you can't do this to the point of exhausting your own physical health getting torn down. Okay? Yeah. There's only so many hours in a day. But again, it's that balance, right? And you worry about your family.
Yeah.
Coaches forget about their family. I mean, you see it all the time on a high level. So, yeah, we're doing important. And coaches where they're now, they're in the office at 4 in the morning, home at 8, they're like nothing for 9 months.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go there.
No.
Okay, I love it, but not that much. Not even close to that much. Because my wife is important.
Yeah.
And she has to be part of this. So again, that's where this balance is, right? So that's why right now being a varsity coach can be a little tough because again, career and you to do it right. I want to do it right, and so does Preston. We want to do it right. You got to be dedicated, and it's not a lack being dedicated to the work. You need to have time to do it.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, time hits it on the head. I got a little more time with my position. I'm a salary position, kind of like a teacher, but I kind of get off in winter, Brian. You know, you see me in the gym a lot more during that time of the year.
Right.
But it's key, you know, like, and go to the community house. Mr. Shilcock's hiring me to do the fundamentals for first and fourth grade.
Kenny,
Kenny. Great guy, great. He's got the same outlook that I do.
Kenny's super passionate.
Yeah, we have to, and blame buddy, the Blame City is far behind on fundamentals for basketball. I can't speak for other sports because this is what I'm coaching right now, but they're so far behind. I mean, we took 6th grade, and no disrespect to anybody, it's just these 7th grade boys were behind. You look at how they're catching up. They're catching up, but they were behind. So this was a job in itself. You know, we were at first 5 days a week. You know, Mark wasn't there sometimes because of his job, and we get that. It's just
retention of athletes is an issue too. Keeping them
right. Exactly.
You guys actually have. I was there for the first 3 years without you guys as coaches, and you'd see 3 or 4 kids quit, and you actually had 4 more join this year.
Right. Yeah.
We've picked up some.
Word of mouth is key. I mean,
it is.
But it's not about me. I know that you're talking about us. It honest to God is. It's about these kids. It's about these first or fourth that are going to eventually be up at the L.B. Clark's, the Two Rivers High School, Michigan High School, Ron Colley, wherever they decide to go to school, Lutheran High.
Yeah.
You know, they're all taking these steps now to better themselves. And Kenny started this last year, and I thought he had quite a bit of following right there.
Yeah.
But then this year, all of a sudden, you know, after Kenny and I worked together for a year, it's really taken off. Kenny can quote me if I'm wrong. I think we had like 7 to 10 meeting lists that we couldn't even get in.
Yeah.
You know, because you got to rely on volunteers. And where I'm going with this is a great assistant that helps coach Mark and I, and her name is Addison. She is my daughter.
Yeah.
She decided not to play basketball this year. I really wish she would play, but that's her choice. She's a young adult, and now, you know, she's going to be going to school for physical therapy, minoring in coaching.
Yeah.
As right now, that could change. Obviously, she's only a junior, but with her knowledge of the game and the way she sees the court, she helps Mark and I. I mean, I shouldn't speak for Mark, but I'm assuming he feels the same way. That there's certain aspects of her that we learn from her. And she's only a 17-year-old junior at Two Rivers High School. Yeah. And it wasn't her and Mark. I mean, this has made my job personally so much easier.
Yeah.
And I know Addison can tell you right now, well, my dad can kind of be a jerk. You know, I get it. I think all dads can be jerks, but I do it because she do it. I do it because I know she'll call next play.
Yeah.
I know that she can call the right press breaker. I know she can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes she looks at me, well, you kind of just tell me to go do it, and I don't even know. But I'm like, but every time I do it, you do it successfully. You know. So, yeah, it's just great. I know we only have a little bit of time here, but because us two, we could sit here forever. I think you're finding that out, right? Yeah.
Hey, I've done it. This isn't the longest one.
No, okay, but you know, it's just this community coming together, and with Kenny and the community house. It's great. It's great to see because this town needs fundamentals. These kids, if they're interested in playing that sport, they need to get the fundamentals.
They do.
I think a lot of it is we push games.
That was the question.
Oh, really? Oh, I'm sorry. No,
answer.
Yeah, games. I said practice. You know, you gotta get out there. You gotta do it. You know, you can't just go play games. You want to see if you win or lose.
Yeah.
You want to go out. What was the word you used? You're going to play the game like you practice, right?
You play the game as if you're how you practice. You're practicing horribly.
Yeah.
It's exactly what's going to happen in the game, and that came from long shots, right?
Yeah.
And you got to steal thunder where it comes from other people, right?
Yeah.
That's what life's about. But you know, I said that a lot, and it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. You know, and you tell the kids like, "Hey, I'm not kidding you." And when, fortunately, you'd have a negative experience, maybe. To them, where they're kind of having one of those bad practice weeks, you know. So it's like, and then again, what does the coach do? You can't do that. I told you so. You can kind of do it, but you got to balance it. It's like, this is why we need to do this. Right?
Yeah.
You saw it, you experienced it, right? If you want to experience it again, obviously master the obvious isn't it?
Yeah.
And two, as coaches, it's, and I know Mark's the same way, but like just for example, last week I went up to a couple of parents and I told them straight out, I struggle at coaching this. But this is a place that can do it. If you have time, you have the money and the commitment to take your sons there, it would highly, highly work. Because guess what? I did it with my daughter. I coached my daughter with Mark for many, many, many years, with his nieces, and there's certain things that he would be like, okay, you go by Coach Preston, you're going to do this. Like he said, shooting.
Yeah.
I used to be a 3-point threat man back in my day. Back when I played, I got cut as a freshman, but I can go up to 8th grade. Yeah. But it's just sort of like that. We know our strengths. I guess it's just simply how to do that. So,
you gotta like, ask for help when you need it. Like I did the same with Kyle. We got down in we were playing Pulaski, and it was halftime. We're down 19-0, and Kyle's like, "What are you gonna do?" And I looked at him and said, "I have no idea. Give me 4 minutes." So me and Kyle said 4 minutes, and Chad and Barry took the team, kind of calmed them down. We came up with a game plan, but I had to ask his help because he was a varsity coach for 7 years. So Kyle, what am I going to do right now? I had an idea, but sometimes you need to ask someone for help. Sometimes you guys need to ask someone to pick up where you're lacking.
Yeah, and I'm not asking parents to show them what I feel like, but what I'm saying is that this is where I'm going to struggle teaching your kid, because I can notice that he's not doing it at 100% where he should be. And I know that he can, but it's hard for myself to show it.
Yeah.
I'm maybe not understanding, or I'm showing it the wrong way. Mark does a lot better at what, I'm not going to get into what it's about, but I know Mark can do it, but his time is also not as great as what my time is. So we have to share that and respect that responsibility.
Yeah. And again, one of the things, because again, just so people understand what we're about too, is that, we're dealing with young people.
Yeah.
Okay? And what we do and how we do it can impact their lives in a positive way and a negative way. And what scares the Jesus out of me is I never want to be that other part.
Yes.
And I may be overly aware of it, but it's in the back of my mind almost every day.
Yeah.
It's like, I hope I don't mess these kids up, and I don't want to do that. I mean, he's known that when we had his daughter and nieces. I mean, these are very good athletes playing great basketball, one loss, okay? And I'm coaching them, and it's like, okay, I'm getting them ready for high school. I'm saying, God, please help me not screw them up.
Yeah. Big responsibility.
And not only I'm saying from an athletic standpoint, but also from a life standpoint. Because again, what we're doing with them, the amount of time we're spending with them, can make them better, but it could cause some problems that I don't want to be that. So you have to be really, I keep saying about the social aspect of this, right? Between your ears, you've got to be aware and put it in play.
Yeah.
It's not just about physical abilities.
No, not at all.
Physical abilities are important. Being in shape's important. Lifting, all that type of stuff, all that's important. But you need to do that.
Yeah.
But man, if you ignore social mental, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
You need to do it, and you need to do it right too. You need to go. I think it's one of your questions on there. How we prevent injuries and stuff like that. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead.
No, you're good. I think that's the last question.
Is it? Okay, but that's key. Like I know we're doing a podcast with Brian Gallagher at the Dark Side here, but I found this, and I'm not just saying it because Brian's right in front of me interviewing me, but this gym is honestly, I've seen bring Chicago kids together, Two Rivers kids, Reedsville. Really, I could be wrong on some of the cities, but I see them in here.
Yeah.
Training. We have 5-7 kids that made all conference that come here and train, and you see, and honestly, these kids that I'm seeing training that I see in the paper and stuff, it's like, okay, they're doing the right compound movements, they're doing the things that you show them, and they're not getting injured. Not saying that it can't happen. Don't get me wrong.
It'll happen.
You can train. Yeah, it'll happen. But the more you can put into it, like me, I've been here now for over a year now.
Yeah.
I know I took a little break there for a little bit, for a couple of weeks, but I came back into it, and I feel great. Yeah, losing all the weight that I really came in here to do? No. But, I lost, two shoe sizes. I lost 3 pant sizes, that's an accomplishment to me. Just imagine what you're doing for these kids. It's us looking at, almost going to be 50-year-old man coming in here, the second oldest in the gym, I think. That's what we always said, maybe third now. I don't know.
Oldest is 55.
55, well, there you go, I'm right behind them.
Yeah.
But, every time I'm in here, I'm the oldest. I never see anybody older than me. So I'm like, my daughter will tease me too. Well, come on, Dad, on your speed days, you got to be a little faster. I'm like, okay,
she's right.
Yeah, she's right, but man, give me a break. I'm just teasing, but it's key. It's key to keep going. I think, and Mark and I talked about this after this season. Yes, we want to come back and coach these boys. We do. As long as it's going to fit. I mean, we can't guarantee anything because things, life changes. We all know that. Right. But even in the off season, I want to get together with Mr. Linsmeyer up at the high school, the varsity coach. I want to get together with him. I want to do one day. I don't think it's too much.
No.
One day a week just to keep in basketball form. Then when football season starts, maybe we'll look at, let's see, what can we still do one day a week, or do we just bring it down to a 45-minute thing?
Yeah.
What do we do? Let's read the parents, let's read the kids, let's ask them, and then we'll move forward with things. I think it's important. It's important enough to do it a little bit. I think some sports, following my daughter, like, okay, all of a sudden we're doing basketball, then we have to go to softball, then we have to go to track practice or whatever it may be. It's like sometimes it was all 3 or 4 sports in one day.
Yeah,
That can be a little burnt out as an athlete and a parent or a coach.
Absolutely.
Like that. But I think it's important. You got to get your butts in the gym. You got to do the work ahead of it. And I think firmly, and Brian, you might agree with this, I don't know, but I think honestly, starting in sixth grade, and you might think earlier, maybe it is earlier, I don't know. But I honestly think if you start, the weight training and doing the little things, succeed in that sport that you want to do, or sports that you want to do, it's going to help you.
Yeah.
It is.
I agree as well. I mean, one of the things so that I think that you need to have, again, you don't want to, again, if you're doing it, I think it's your problem. I'm not just talking weight training, I'm just talking practices, everything in general.
Sport in general.
Because you want to have that interest still, right? So it's that balance. But again, one of the things I think is critical is that you need to have trained professionals doing these programs.
Yes.
Trained professionals that know what the difference between a 6th grade body versus a 12th grade body.
Yes.
And development and all that type of stuff. And be aware of that and how to handle it, right?
Yeah.
Being aware of training with their physical background, right? What they've got going on. You need to have people who are trained.
Yeah.
You can't do, again, and we talked about widgets, right? Earlier, or making boards, right? You're dealing with raw materials, again, right? Each human being different parts are not aligned the same way, different sizes, body, different features, different, boys, girls, this long, all those things, and you need trained individuals doing this. And I think we need to spend them. I know it's an ugly word.
Yeah.
And I respect that because I complained about my taxes going up this year. Not gonna lie. But again, I talk about awareness, right? Talk about raw materials and awareness, it's not out there, right? Awareness, you need it. You need it because if you have proper strength and conditioning, these kids are going to be healthy and in a better position to participate in these sports and have drudgery. Because if your body's wearing down, there's different muscles being utilized for basketball and then football. Maybe some commonalities. But again, that's what a trained person like yourself knows. You got to have that.
Yeah.
Dietary issues too. Quick Trip is a real quick fix. So McDonald's and they're evil places. They're evil places.
Terrible family restaurant.
I know I've been them as well, but if you can get these kids also trained on that aspect, is diet.
Yeah.
And on that note, sorry to interrupt, but it's an example here coming to the gym. These kids know that I coach, so they'll come to me and say, "Hey, is this how we do it?" And I'll be like, "You got to go professional here because you have a coach. You have coaches here that train. yeah, I might know a little bit to be dangerous.
Yeah.
But for me to come into a gym and act like I know everything, like the Brian and the Louis and stuff like that, that's not accurate.
I don't know everything
Now,
either.
right. We're learning, but we got to save it. Like Mark said, save it for the professionals.
Yeah.
I can help in a little bit. Like if Brian's not here, I'm more than happy to help. But if Brian's here, I'm going to be okay. I'll this and this. Brian, make sure that we're doing. I want to see this kid succeed.
Yeah.
I don't want to just throw something at him just because I think this might work.
Yeah.
You know, I want it to work. You know, same thing with you. You might ask a question. You know, after a basketball game, you might say, "Hey, Preston, why did you do this?" And then I should be able to explain that to you because I'm the one that ran it.
Absolutely.
Or I might just say, "Brian, well, we wanted to try it. It obviously failed.
Yeah.
But we're going to work. You know,
I've been there too.
yeah. You know, it is. You got to accept the failure with the success. I I hear rumors about the team. You might know more than me, but the rumor is that I haven't won three games last years. We're sitting at 15 right now.
Yeah.
I mean, how true that is, I don't know, and I'm not floating our boat, but we're doing something right.
The only teams I remember them beating was Green Bay East.
Okay. Yeah.
And then you guys beat them at Green Bay. That coach that hugs everybody.
Oh yeah, great coach.
Nice guy. Very
nice guy.
Very loud. But
Yeah, very nice guy. He made my day that day. Yeah, that was awesome. But no, we're at 15 wins right now. You know, that shows that they're doing the things that we're asking. They're buying in. The parents are buying in.
Yeah.
You know, it's awesome. If it back year, there could be a possibility. Maybe we only win 10 games. I don't know. That's foreseen. I don't think that would happen, but you never know. You know. I mean, things like that we just constantly work on the things. We know Plymouth pretty much wiped us out of the water last plan.
Yeah.
I'll raise something different. Is the outcome going to be different? I don't know. We'll find out at 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock today. So yeah. But it is, even if we lose by 2, if we lose by 30, Mark and I are going to look at what we need, or if we win by 10, or whatever it may be, Mark and I are going to look at each other and be like, hey, what do we need to fix the next time?
Absolutely.
Lose whatever.
Absolutely.
You know, so
And thank you for having us again.
Thanks for coming.
It's been an honor, and never my wildest dreams, and we're loving it. And again, that's what matters. Is you gotta enjoy what you do. You said that earlier about your jobs, right?
Yeah.
You gotta love this. If you don't love it, don't waste your time.
Yeah.
Or if you do it for ego, don't waste your time.
Absolutely.
It has to be a love, not passion.
As a parent to one of your players, thank you for coaching. And I know Bryson likes basketball. He hated basketball in the past, and he chose to come out again, and he's actually enjoying this year. So that's just something on you guys. That's not Coach Brian speaking, that's Dad Brian speaking. But
awesome. Well, thank you, Brian. I just want to, before we leave, I just want to thank my wife, Shelley. I want to thank my daughter, Addison, my son, Parker, Marmar, who's been living with us forever. Thanks for the support. Marmar. You know, he's a character, hey? Yeah. Great guy, great kid. But I want to thank them, thank all those things, Brian, for supporting me, thank Mark, from Mom, love you. You know, I might not say it enough, but you know, if it wasn't
Brett for asking Coach.
Brett, Liver thing. Actually, it started with I'm gonna hold you a bit more.
That's fine.
Yeah. But Mom, thank you. I love you. I know we don't say it enough, but and family, Mark and Mark's wife and his family. But what did you just say?
Brett Lensberg.
Oh, Brett Lensberg, yeah. So what happened was, I've been working out at the gym, and one of the young ladies that I helped with more she went down and played JV with us because she wanted to play with Mark and I. Yeah. I don't know why, but she did. And she had a blast. Well, at least she told me she had a blast. She actually reached out to me. I don't know if I can say names or not, but
it's up to you. I mean,
Haley Jensen had reached out to me to see if I would coach. She left me a message. I answered. I said, well, I don't know. I said, we'll see. I don't really know anybody. And then Mom reached out to me, Liz. And long story short, I reached out with Brett and we talked. And I told him, you know, what I would expect and stuff like that. And I understood what he wanted. And we moved forward. And here we are. Brett's a great guy to deal with. I'm sure he gets. You love him or you hate him. He's the coach. You know, just like a principal.
So
I think hands down, great guy.
Yeah,
great coach. He's out there. I know others might disagree, but you know that's their own opinion.
No, Brett's very passionate about kids.
Right,
and he knows how. Yeah, he loves the game of basketball.
Right,
football.
I meet with Brett periodically during his APP or whatever you call it, his downtime, and we do the schedules and stuff like that, and whatever maybe, and you can just tell he's great for these kids, the young kids at LB Clark. Yeah, I mean, I can't talk enough. So yeah, thank you, Mr. Rohrer.
I get to my thank you because I'm not going to forget.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kelly. You've been just a phenomenal gift to me in my life. I'm not going to forget my niece and nephew, and they helped me grow as well. So, and I'm very grateful for that as well. Gave me the opportunity. The twins did, and so did Addie. There's some guy that was just be a rah-rah thing. I'm glad he gave me that chance to go beyond rah-rah. Thanks.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well,
We all good?
Yeah, we're all good. That's it for Beyond the Rack. Thanks for coming in, and good luck at your game today.
Thank you.